You name it. Nobody wants. They never learned how to fight because the managers made them dependent on them by taking care of their bills, taking care of this, taking care of that. All of a sudden, now Jose is in the gym. He's the guy, and you just get thrown out.
Right.
And so you become bitter and empty and lonely, and the sport that you loved turned on you.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. And that's how Don King had built it.
Yeah, that's true. And let me just tell you a story quick. You bring all these great things up. So what happened was my wife sent the hair or whatever you send away, and found out that I was 10% African American. Somewhere's in there. So
there goes the whole great white hope.
The whole thing was a lie. It was a lie.
The great white 90%.
Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, the thing of the matter is, Holmes did not like me because he felt like I got the easy track. In some ways, I did.
You were on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Sometimes they put me on the cover, him on the inside cover.
Yeah.
He was so mad at me, right? And so today, we're the best of friends. I talked to him today. I'm telling him he has some diabetes. I'm telling him you got to exercise.
Yeah.
That's our conversation today.
Right.
Even back in the day, like a guy like Ken Norton. Ken Norton was jacked up back in the day.
He
was a fighter.
He was older than that when we fought.
ripped.
But I want to tell you what reason.
Holmes was just a big guy with and a great puncher.
He fought Norton to death, life and death.
Yeah.
3 fights. But the problem with me in my career, why I lacked the experience I needed. So when I fought a guy like Holmes, if I had a rematch with Holmes from what I learned that night in the ring with him, we would have had a great fight.
Yeah.
It was a great fight to begin with.
It was a great fight.
It was fantastic.
But I'm saying that I learned so much from him that night. But unfortunately, Don King owned the heavyweight division, and I wouldn't sign with him. So he kept me out of the picture. So I'm fighting Norton, who's 12 years older than me. Those kinds of things. I needed some good experience, some good looks, and I never got.
So the fight happens June
11th. You testing me, bro? Are you testing me?
I'm making sure you're really Gerry Cooney.
The hell, bro?
And not the fake Gerry Cooney.
June 12th comes. You have to pick yourself off the campus, get up, live your normal life.
I didn't pick myself off no canvas. I was up. And listen, I had to turn the page.
From the metaphorical canvas.
I want to just tell you something that because of the dysfunction, because of how I avoided my life, I had to work on stuff. And it still took me from 1982 to 88 to finally put down the booze and really say, I can't do this anymore.
How heavy was the drinking after the Holmes fight?
Oh, I drank every day.
Every day.
It wasn't a fall down drunk or something like that, but I drank every day.
Anesthetizing the pain, yeah. You were a pro
Well,
drinker.
not just the pain of that fight, of my life.
Of your life.
Of the confusion, the fear, the loneliness, the emptiness. I'm reading a great book right now. It's about this guy that he's so codependent on these women, he can't live his life. I needed someone to hold me and squeeze me at nighttime.
And the alcohol held you.
Well, it helped. It helped me, and women.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I felt a lot of guilt about that through my life. And then I found out everybody goes through what they need to go through to get to the next place. So here I am now. I put the booze down. I stay alone for 5 years. And then here's the story, right? So here's what I did over and over again. I met the beautiful girl. She dressed good. She smelled good. She laughed good. And when the dust settled, she was crazy because I was crazy. Okay?
You were on the same level of crazy.
Charlie, you talked about that.
I was attracted to that because I felt like I was safe.
Yeah.
Like this was going to be safe. I'll be able to fix her the way I make her, the way I want to make her. It never happened, not once. And so I had to stay alone. And in that time, I went to Africa. I went to Central America. I played golf. I did all these beautiful things. And I learned about who I was, finally.
Well, Charlie talks about that. You get together with a person who is of your same personality, right?
You attract what you put out.
You're right.
And Gerry, I have to say this. I watched a documentary on YouTube about you. And
I never did.
I did. And I'm going to tell you something.
I watched it earlier this week.
Your father could have been my father. And tonight, this is a meeting for me because I think that's the last part I got to do. I got to forgive him. I got to forgive him.
I took a ride out to where he's buried. Spent an hour and a half with him.
But yeah, thank you. Thank you. I need to hear that tonight because I wrote that book there, 14th and 2nd, and I talk about the
I hope you
trauma.
got a signed copy for me.
I certainly do. And
there's very few books that have ever made me cry. That one made me cry.
I got some great books for you too.
Yeah.
But Gerry, I was disciplined with hands, and I was a punching bag for my father. And you know, I hearing you tonight say you forgave him means a lot. And of course, I ran myself into the arms of women, and nobody could fix me because I was attracting people that were broken, and they were just as empty as I was.
Listen, my father built a ring in the backyard, and he used to make my mother keep time, and I could never hit him. I could have kicked his ass. Yeah. And I'm
But
so
that's
glad,
a fatherly respect.
I'm
You
so
can't do
glad
that.
I never did, because later on, I heard someone that did kick his ass.
Yeah.
Their father's ass.
Oh,
And
really?
they've never had a very difficult time getting over. So I never did. And I guess he always wanted to be a fighter. And just in the military, he was a merchant marine. He never got that chance. He left home when he was 17.
You know, it sounds like to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you have like a Lawrence Taylor type of story where you were so good at what you did that the drinking, like, how do you tell Gerry Cooney, hey, listen, stop drinking.
Yeah, stop drinking.
Stop
You got a big
drinking.
fight coming up.
Otherwise, you're already fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. Stop drinking. Like, how do you do that?
Let me tell you something. So I've run into at least 100 guys that wanted to become a promoter. They were going to match up with this guy and that guy. They're putting 100 grand, 200 grand in. I told every single one of them, don't do it. Right? Every single one of them did it. Guess what?
They lost.
all end
They
up
lost
broke,
Yeah.
empty. You know, it's a game. It's a, that's boxing.
But what finally clicked in you to say, I got to stop this? Was it after your fighting career?
I didn't know what to do with myself. I just never knew what am I going to be. Now I made money, and I made money, and I saved my money. One thing I knew, that the rainy day was coming. I grew up poor. I grew up with nothing, holes in my shoes. I grew up with my brother's hand-me-downs, all those things. But I knew the rainy day was coming, and I fought my ass off to get there.
But you didn't make the money that they're making now.
I made, $10 million in 1982.
Dang.
Well, that's a hell of a lot of money then. It's a hell of a lot of money now too. But
Yeah.
Tyson was getting like 22 million
I made
a fight.
lot of money. Yeah. I made a lot of money. And
Well, was that what led you into start? I know you were doing that fist program out of Gleason's.
Well, the great thing for FIST was for me was that I've seen so many fighters come and go, and they're going to be the champ, and then they're going to be the sparring partner, then they're going to be the opponent, and then the fans feel sorry for them. They're broke.
Yeah.
So I saw that all my life. I used to spar with these guys, and so I was looking to get out, find a way out. And this foundation helped me to learn about myself and to help these other less fortunate guys.
Well, FIST was a program started to help retire boxers. I know it's an acronym for something. It escapes me.
Fighters Initiative for Support and Training.
Yeah.
To put them in school, to find out what their skills are, what they liked. But what we found out was that there was so many issues, family, alcohol, drugs, children, you name it. Nobody they never learned how to fight because the managers made them dependent on them by taking care of their bills, taking care of this, taking care of that. All of a sudden, now Jose is in the gym. He's the guy, and you just get thrown out.
Right.
And so you become bitter and empty and lonely, and the sport that you loved turned on you. And there's not a fighter that I haven't met that I've asked, did you get away from the game for a while? I know I did.
Some of you're like almost the flavor of the day. When you're up there and you're making all that money, and then all of a sudden a young stud comes in, you're no more used to that trainer or the promoter anymore.
I never looked at it that way. Athletes, we're athletes. I respect all athletes. I have been fortunate to be with football players, great baseball players, soccer players, you name it, fighters. I've been with them all. We all have that element. The problem that comes for us is we miss the roar of the crowd.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's so hard to turn that page. So you stay a little bit longer and you become an opponent. And then you still go out there. And then you become a sparring partner. And then you still go out there.
But if you go into an arena now, people are going to recognize you and clap for you. But not 21,
Listen, can I
22,000
tell you
people
something, guys?
screaming for you.
I went to Michael Buffer and told him, do me a favor, don't introduce me when I come to the fights. I'll be out in Vegas with them. I asked him, please, I'd rather not be introduced. I don't want to be. I don't feel like what I did was, I didn't have the tools at that time to be who I could have been. I hoped sometime I can give somebody that information. I'm a great teacher of the game, but it takes a lot of discipline for me to go away in March and come back in November, go away in December, come back in. It's like the guy you're training has to want it. If you don't want it, I got no time for you.
And I'm sure you could see it in their
I'd
eyes
rather
if
be
they
with my
wanted it or
family.
not.
No, you can see how they respond.
Yeah.
How do you respond? I had a great guy, Lennox Lewis gave me from Jamaica. He was 59-1 or something. He brought him to me. I trained him, for a couple of months. I brought a kid from Russia in, and all the kid wanted to do was stay back. He didn't do anything about getting inside. You got to create the openings.
Yeah.
You got to become from amateur to a pro. I told that to Lennox Lewis. He said, that's what I wanted to hear. But this kid couldn't make that adjustment.
It sounds like your post-boxing career, you're sort of trying to right some wrongs that you had in your life. Like you saw the holes in Gerry Cooney when he was younger, and you're trying to steer.
Don't you think we need it?
Of course we do. We need
absolutely.
warriors who have already fought battles in order to teach the new soldiers how to do it.
But it's not about, the barrier, the warrior. It's about teaching a kid. Why don't you go to the post office and sort mail this summer and get your foot in the door, and sort that mail every day and do it right, and then you'll get a job at the post office. You'll get a retirement. You'll get a health insurance. You'll get, a good salary. Those are the gifts we got to start with. These kids are so behind.
Well, a lot of kids want to start off on top. They don't want to do
Well,
the
who
groundwork.
doesn't? Who
They
doesn't?
don't
Don't
want-
you?
Well, I never started
Don't
off
you?
anywhere.
Hey, listen,
I never
couldn't
ended
wait.
up anywhere
I
either.
couldn't wait till I paid off what I owed my management. And it happened to me with Dino Dennis in the Garden. That was all my dream was. I wanted to see how far I could go. And then little did I know, I self-sabotaged myself in the moment that I was really to shine. But that being said, I didn't have those guys to teach me.
Yeah.
Those other fighters that had different looks, were talented, were good. You have to work. You got to work in there and create the openings. I didn't have that because I was kept from that. And that's the game. That was the boxing game.
One
It's better
question.
now.
What's your thoughts on a guy like Chuck Wepner?
I love Chuck Wepner.
The Bayonne
He's the
bleeder.
toughest man I ever knew.
You know what he said in an interview once? He goes, "I'm so grateful I took that beating from Ali because I bought my bar with it."
Yeah.
Well, listen,
That's gratitude, and I always appreciate that
I'm
statement.
offended when you talk that way about Chuck Wepner. He's a friend of mine, and he's struggling
didn't say
right
anything
now.
bad about him.
Well, you kind of make fun of Chuck Wepner.
No, I just said the Bayonne bleeder.
Bayonne bleeder, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
he fought
I
his-
love the guy.
He fought his ass
Yeah.
off.
My father knew Chuck Wepner
He
growing
got
up.
a chance to fight
Yeah.
Ali and took it.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
tough-
And they made Rocky after him.
Yeah.
And he
Well,
fought,
that's
he
why-
fought Stallone to get another share of that money. Stallone made, I can't tell you how many millions of dollars. I don't know what Chuck Wepner made.
Off of Chuck Wepner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chuck Wepner was the original Rocky. That's why, I mean, like I said, I don't mean to offend you. My father
Yeah.
knew Chuck Wepner
Look, I'm
growing
very
up.
proud of those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
He
Chuck
paved
Wepner
the way
was-
for himself.
yeah, exactly.
He found a way. Was he the greatest fighter? No. Did he get hit a lot? Did he get cut up a lot? Yeah. But he was a man's man. He wrote me a letter when he was away in prison, right? And he said he was rooting for me. And
Really?
this is a guy who went away for a lot of years
Yeah.
for something he did. And he sent me a letter, and it gave me hope.
Well, he had I just appreciate his gratitude. Like he stood toe to toe with arguably
You don't
the
know the
greatest.
story.
I saw the
15
movie,
rounds.
but
All right, so he was a bar. He used to. I don't mean to interrupt you, but he's a liquor salesman.
He's a liquor salesman, yeah.
So he goes into the bar, and Linda is the bartender. She loves Ali. He's been delivering liquor there. So he likes her. She's nice, right? So he's flirting with her and all this. She loves Ali. Then he's fighting Ali. And he goes in and tells her he's fighting Ali. She's married to him now, to Chuck Wepner.
The same girl.
Yeah.
No kidding.
What a great story.
That's a beautiful
And
story.
they love each other more than anything. I love to talk to them. I love to hear them.
Disgust me. No, no, but so the gratitude, like what you're talking about, is go sort mail, go do those jobs, work your way up,
Yeah.
and because what it teaches you, and I
Can
think
you help me?
you're right. So you're teaching gratitude. You're teaching gratitude. And the one thing I always took away from Chuck Wepner's story, yes, Rocky was made after him, and that was great story. But he fought Ali, and he was grateful, and he stood toe to toe with the
Listen,
toughest
bro,
fighter in the world.
15 rounds,
He
right?
fought Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
He fought everybody.
I didn't know he fought Liston.
He fought a bear. You know, they
Yeah, I do know that. I do know that.
He fought Sonny Liston.
Sonny-
This guy was a tough guy. And he was a man's man. And did he have the best talent? No. He was a tough guy.
But he had a great heart.
Yeah.
So while we're on that subject, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question.
Good.
The magic punch, Sonny Liston, Ali.
That wasn't,
No.
from what I saw,
Your
he
insight.
fell down. You know, from what I saw, you know, I don't know about the crookedness of the mobs and all that back then, but Ali wasn't a big puncher. He couldn't drop Sonny Liston like that and knock him out. I mean, you know, listen.
He floated like
And
a butterfly.
Then Sonny Liston, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
Sonny Liston hated needles. Someone stuck him in the back with a needle.
Yeah, that's. I was just reading. I went down that weird rabbit hole with boxing. And I was reading his autopsy report today for some reason.
There's no fixed fights today. There's just sick, you know, officials, sick people who score the fights. They don't know what they're looking at.
Well, I know the Holmes. Your referee for the Holmes was Mills, the famous Mills Lane.
Mills Lane.
Great guy.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess some
He's
like
the hanging judge.
I remember his show, Judge Mills Lane.
Judge Mills Lane.
But I used to love when he officiated show. He
No nonsense.
he almost became a personality himself.
Well, let me tell you something, right? So I'm fighting Holmes, and every time I come around to throw a left hook to the body, Holmes is pulling my head down, and Mills Lane is standing over there, and he says, "Don't do that again." And every time this happens, Holmes is a smart dude, right? He gets Mills Lane over there, and when I come to the body, he puts my head down. I hit him with low punches twice. I get 3 points taken away. I don't know anything about points taken away, but I do figure I can't win now.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was ahead. I was close. The fight was very close.
Yeah.
And I had 3 points taken away. But Mills Lane couldn't see it. As great as he was, we're all fallible.
Well, that's the
You know,
fallibility
they should have an outside referee watching the fight to be able to, you know.
Well, that
Now they have film. They have a rerun. You can go between rounds and rerun it. But, you know, back then they didn't.
I think I same problem in professional football with the instant replay. There's some beauty about the human fallibility in officiating those games, boxing included. You know, that's the element of it. I tell my young kids that I coach now, it's not a penalty until the referee sees it. You know, and I'm sure you see that in the boxing. Holmes knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
He was smart.
He was smart.
You sure you want to fight me?
Trust me, Charlie, the punches still hurt.
I can imagine.
The punches
I can
still hurt.
imagine.
Well, I was almost scared. You said I offended you, and I didn't mean to offend you with the Chuck Wepner.
Listen,
I mean, it was like,
listen.
yeah, I don't want to
if
fight you either.
knew- I know you guys had a hard life. It wasn't easy being policemen and all that, especially in today's time.
You got that right.
But fighters, I don't care who they are. They get in the ring and that bell rings, you got to be a man.
Yeah.
And he was better than that. He didn't have the skills as much as some of the other guys, but he had the heart way bigger than that.
That's why I said he had heart. Like I said, my father knew him growing up, you know, and I always had an admiration for Chuck Wepner.
I love Chuck Wepner.
Because, I mean, he just went in there. He didn't care who he was fighting. He went in and balls to the wall every fight and would just start throwing until he stopped throwing.
And I'm sure, you know, he had some bar fights himself, I would imagine.
Well, isn't that the way
Allegedly.
boxing is? It sort of catches the wayward kids and tries to get them focused on something out of the straight and narrow.